I was standing in the middle of my vacation home when the security alert lit up my phone. 2 figures on the camera feed. My parents, smashing through the glass door I had just replaced last month. The alarm system screamed through the speakers as my mother stepped through the shattered frame glass, crunching under her designer heels. My father followed, his face red with that familiar rage I had learned to fear as a child. They were breaking into my house. The house I owned. The house I paid for with money I earned. And in that moment, watching them destroy my property like they had destroyed every boundary I had ever tried to set, I realized something had fundamentally shifted inside me. I picked up my phone. I dialed 911. But I am getting ahead of myself. If you want to hear how a golden child's wedding gift became the beginning of my freedom, how I went from being the family ATM to being the villain in their story, and how sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let everything burn, then stay with me. Hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already, and drop a comment telling me if you have ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your sanity. Because this story gets wild. Let me take you back to where it really started. 5 years before that broken glass. 5 years before I became the monster they said I was. I was 26 when my parents called me in a panic. They were going to lose the house, the family home where I grew up, where every birthday party happened, where my mother hung photos of Vanessa and conveniently forgot to frame any of mine. They were 3 months behind on the mortgage. My father had been laid off. My mother had been a homemaker for 30 years. They were desperate. They were my parents. So I did what good daughters do. I helped. Except helping turned into something else entirely. It started with one payment, $3,500. I could afford it. I had a good job in tech, no kids, and I had always been the responsible one. The one who saved, the one who planned. I told them it was temporary, just until Dad found work. They promised to pay me back. 1 month became 2. 2 became 6. My father found a job, but it paid less. My mother said they needed time to get back on their feet. I understood. Family helps family, right? That is what they always said. Funny how that phrase only seemed to apply to me. By the end of the first year, I had paid $42,000 toward their mortgage. I was not living with them. I had my own apartment across town, but somehow I was the one keeping their roof over their heads. I started keeping records. Every transaction, every date, every dollar. Something in my gut told me I would need them someday. When I approached my parents about a payment plan, about signing a promissory note, my mother laughed. "Do not be so cold, Isabella. We are family. You do not charge family interest like we are strangers." But I insisted. For my own peace of mind, I said. They signed it, rolling their eyes. My mother called it cute, that I was playing businesswoman. I filed it away. The second year was harder. I had to delay buying my own house. My savings account that had been growing steadily now had a permanent drain. But every time I thought about stopping, my mother would mention how grateful they were, how I was such a blessing, how Vanessa could never do what I did. Vanessa, my younger sister, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong even when she did everything wrong. She had dropped out of college twice, moved back home 4 times. She was 23 and working part-time at a boutique, spending her paychecks on designer bags while I was paying for the electricity that charged her phone. But I kept paying $3,500 every single month, like clockwork. Year 3, year 4, year 5. My parents had long since stabilized. My father got a promotion. They took a vacation to Hawaii, posted photos on Facebook. But did the mortgage payments stop? No. Because by then it was just expected. I was the responsible one, the successful one, the one who did not need help because I had my life together. Meanwhile, Vanessa had met someone, a guy named Kyle with a trust fund and a Tesla. Their relationship was a whirlwind. 6 months in, they were engaged. My parents were thrilled. Finally, Vanessa was settling down. Finally, she had found stability. The irony was not lost on me. The stability they celebrated for her was the stability I had been providing for all of them. The wedding planning began immediately. My mother threw herself into it with the enthusiasm she had never shown for anything in my life. The venue was a vineyard estate. The guest list hit 200 people. The flowers alone cost more than my car payment. When I asked who was paying for all of this, my mother waved her hand dismissively. Kyle's family is contributing, and we have been saving. Saving. The word tasted bitter. They had been saving while I paid their mortgage. I was not asked to be the maid of honor. That went to Vanessa's best friend from high school. I was listed as a bridesmaid. Fine. I bought the dress. I showed up to the rehearsal. I smiled for the family photos. I played my role. The wedding day arrived on a perfect California afternoon. The vineyard was gorgeous, all rolling hills and golden sunlight. White chairs lined up in perfect rows, an arch covered in roses, a string quartet playing softly. It was everything a wedding should be. I stood in the back with the other bridesmaids watching guests arrive. My phone buzzed. A notification from my bank. Auto payment processed. $3,500, mortgage payment for my parents' house. I stared at the screen for a moment, feeling that familiar mix of resentment and resignation. Then I slipped my phone back into my clutch and walked toward my seat. The ceremony was beautiful. Vanessa looked stunning, I have to give her that. She always knew how to work a room. Kyle looked nervous but happy. They said their vows. Everyone cried. Well, almost everyone. I was thinking about $3,500, about the fact that I had just paid for the house they lived in while they watched their favorite daughter get married in a $20,000 dress. The reception was even more elaborate. A live band, an open bar with top-shelf everything, a 7-course meal. I found myself at a table with some distant cousins who barely knew me. Between the salad and the main course, my parents stood up. My father was holding a microphone. My mother was beaming beside him. I felt my stomach drop. I knew that look. That was the look they got when they were about to do something big, something dramatic, something that would get attention. "Can we have everyone's attention, please?" My father's voice boomed across the tent. The band stopped playing. Conversations died down. 200 faces turned toward the head table. "Margaret and I want to say a few words about our beautiful daughter and her new husband." I braced myself for a sentimental speech. What I got was so much worse. "Vanessa and Kyle, you are starting your lives together, and every young couple needs a strong foundation," my father continued. My mother nodded vigorously beside him. "So your mother and I have talked about this a lot, and we have decided on the perfect wedding gift." I watched my sister's face light up with anticipation. Kyle looked curious, leaning forward. "We are giving you our house," my father announced. "The family home. We signed the deed over to you this morning. It is all yours." The tent erupted in applause. Gasps of delight. People standing up to clap. Vanessa screamed and jumped up, running to hug our parents. Kyle looked shocked but thrilled. The band started playing something celebratory. Everyone was cheering. Everyone except me. I sat frozen in my chair, my fork halfway to my mouth. The family home. The house I had paid the mortgage on for 5 years. The house that represented $210,000 of my money. They had just given it away. To Vanessa, without telling me, without even asking me. My phone was still in my clutch. I pulled it out with shaking hands. I checked my bank account again. The payment had gone through 4 hours ago. This morning, the same morning they signed the deed over, they had taken my money and then given away the asset it was paying for. I looked up at the head table. Vanessa was hugging our mother, crying happy tears. She caught my eye over Mom's shoulder, and then she mouthed something. 2 words, clear as day. "I win." Something inside me cracked. Not broke, not shattered, just cracked, like the first line in a windshield before the whole thing spiderwebs. I stood up. I did not remember making the decision to stand. My body just moved. I walked toward the head table, weaving through the celebrating crowd. People were still clapping, still congratulating. I reached the family huddle just as they were breaking apart. Isabella, my mother, saw me first. Her smile faltered for just a second when she saw my face. Isn't it wonderful Vanessa will take such good care of the house? The house, I repeated. My voice sounded strange, too calm. The house that I have been paying the mortgage on for 5 years. The celebration energy dimmed around us. Kyle looked confused. Vanessa's smile turned sharp. My father's face hardened. Let's not do this here, he said quietly. A warning. Do what I asked. State facts. I just paid $3,500 this morning, same as I have every month for the last 60 months. That is $210,000 in case anyone is counting, which apparently no one is, except me. My mother's face flushed. Isabella, you are being dramatic. We can discuss this later. Later when? I asked. After you have already signed away the house, after you have already cashed this month's check. When exactly is later, Mum? Vanessa stepped forward. She was still in her wedding dress, still holding her bouquet, still playing princess. Are you seriously trying to ruin my wedding right now? This is my day. You always have to make everything about you. I almost laughed. About me, Vanessa? I have spent 5 years making everything about you, about this family. I have been paying for the roof over your head while you figured out your life, while you played house, while you... That is enough. My father cut me off. His voice had that edge to it. The edge that used to send me to my room when I was 10. You are making a scene. You are embarrassing this family. We raised you better than this. You raised me to be useful, I said. The words came out before I could stop them. You raised me to be the one who fixes things, who pays for things, who sacrifices so that Vanessa can have everything she wants. Oh my God. Vanessa laughed. It was not a nice laugh. You are so jealous. You have always been jealous. Just because you are successful does not mean you get to hold it over our heads. Hold it over. I stopped. I looked at my sister, really looked at her designer dress and her professional makeup and her perfect hair, all of it paid for by my parents who I had been supporting. I was not just supporting them, I was supporting her too. I had been paying for Vanessa's lifestyle for 5 years. You are right, I said finally. I am successful. I work 60 hours a week. I earned every dollar in my bank account, and I have been giving you all $3,500 of those dollars every single month because I thought I was helping my family. I thought we were in this together. My mother reached for my arm. Sweetheart, you are independent. You are strong. You did not need that money. Vanessa needs security. She needs a foundation. She needs to grow up, I said, pulling my arm away. And you need to stop treating me like an ATM with a daughter-shaped face. My father's hand came up. Fast. Instinctive. He was going to slap me. Right there, in front of 200 people, at my sister's wedding, for telling the truth. But another hand caught his wrist. Ethan. My boyfriend of 2 years who had been sitting quietly at our table the whole time. He was standing beside me now, his grip firm on my father's wrist. I do not think you want to do that, sir, Ethan said quietly. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. For a moment, nobody moved. Then my father yanked his arm away, his face purple with rage. Get out, he said to me. Not to Ethan, to me. Get out of this wedding. You are not welcome here. I reached into my clutch. I pulled out the spare key to their house, the house that was apparently no longer theirs, the house I had paid for that they had just given away. I dropped it on the white tablecloth in front of my mother. Good luck with the property taxes, I said. They are due next month. Then I turned and walked out. Ethan followed me. Behind us, I could hear the band starting up again. Someone trying to salvage the mood, get the party back on track. By the time we reached the parking lot, I could hear laughter again. Like nothing had happened. Like I had not just been erased. We got in Ethan's car. He started driving without asking where to go. I pulled out my phone. My hands were surprisingly steady. 5 years of payments. 5 years of being taken for granted. 5 years of being the responsible one, the reliable one. The one who could be counted on to show up and shut up and pay up. I opened my banking app, found the automatic payment setting for my parents' mortgage, and I deleted it. 3 clicks. Done. No more autopay. No more $3,500 on the first of every month. No more bailout. No more blank check. Then I called my credit card company. Hi, yes, I need to report my card as stolen. Well, not stolen exactly, but I need to cancel the supplementary cards I issued. Yes, all of them. No, I do not want to issue new ones. Just cancel them, please. My parents had supplementary cards on my account. For emergencies, we had said. Except emergencies had turned into groceries and gas and my mother's spa days and my father's golf membership. I had stopped looking at those statements because it made me too angry. Not anymore. Next, I emailed my lawyer. I had met with him 3 years ago when I first started to feel uneasy about the money flowing out of my account. He had drafted a promissory note, a formal loan agreement. My parents had signed it, laughing, thinking it was unnecessary, thinking I would never enforce it. I attached a photo of the signed document to my email. Please advise on next steps for loan recovery, I typed. Borrowers have defaulted by gifting away the secured asset. Ethan did not say anything. He just drove. Eventually, we ended up at his apartment. We went inside. I sat on his couch, and then finally I started to cry. Not sad crying, angry crying. The kind of crying that comes when you realize you have been played for years, and you were too loyal, too desperate for approval, too well trained to see it. What do I do now? I asked when I could finally speak. Ethan handed me a glass of water. You already did it, he said. You walked away. That is the hard part. Everything else is just clean up. He was right, sort of. The next morning my phone started blowing up. My mother, my father, Vanessa. All calling, all texting. I ignored them. By noon, my father called from a different number. I answered out of curiosity. Your mother is stranded at the restaurant, he shouted. No hello, no apology, just blame. Her card declined. Did you cancel our cards? They were not your cards, I said calmly. They were supplementary cards on my account that I pay for. Yes, I cancelled them. You spiteful little... I hung up. Then I blocked their numbers, all of them. Days turned into weeks. I waited for them to reach out properly, to apologize, to acknowledge what they had done. Instead, I got a Facebook post from my mother. A long, vague post about how hard it is when your children grow up and become too busy for family, about how success can change people, about how she and Dad were just trying to do their best. The comments were full of sympathy. Nobody knew the real story. Nobody knew I had been funding their lives. I almost responded, almost set the record straight. But Ethan stopped me. Do not engage, he said. Living well is the best revenge, and right now living well means protecting your peace. So I did. I threw myself into work. I got a promotion. I started looking at houses to buy. Real houses, not apartments. I wanted space. I wanted a yard. I wanted something that was mine and only mine. I found a place 2 months later, a vacation home about an hour outside the city. It needed work, but it had good bones. And most importantly, it was completely paid for with my money. No loans, no mortgages, no strings. I closed on the house in June. I spent my weekends fixing it up, painting walls, replacing fixtures, installing a state-of-the-art security system with cameras everywhere. I changed all the locks, smart locks that I could control from my phone. Ethan thought I was being paranoid. I told him I was being prepared. In August, Vanessa started calling from different numbers. I did not block every number in the world, just the ones I knew. She left voicemails. Isabella, come on. Mom and Dad are upset. Can we talk? And, I do not know why you are being so sensitive about this. It is just a house. And finally, they might have to move in with me and Kyle if you do not start helping again. Is that what you want? I did not respond. Not to her. Not to any of them. I was done. I had said my piece at the wedding. There was nothing left to say. Then in September, something interesting happened. I got an alert from the smart home system at my vacation house. Motion detected. I was at work in a meeting. I pulled out my phone under the table and checked the camera feed. 2 people were standing at my front door. My parents. My mother was trying a key, the old key, the one that no longer worked because I had changed the locks. She tried it several times confused when it would not turn. Then she and my father looked at each other, and my father walked over to the side of the house where there was a large window. I watched in real time as my father picked up a decorative rock from my garden bed and threw it through the window. Glass shattered. The alarm immediately started blaring, but they did not run. My mother climbed through first, carefully trying not to cut herself on the remaining shards. My father followed. They were breaking into my house, on camera, in broad daylight. I excused myself from the meeting. I stepped into a quiet hallway, and I called 911. "I need to report a break-in," I said, keeping my voice calm and professional. "Two people have forced entry into my home. I have video evidence. They broke a window and entered the property." The dispatcher asked for my address, asked if I was at the property, asked if I felt threatened. "I am not there now," I told her. "But yes, I feel threatened. I do not know if they are armed. I do not know what they plan to do. Please send someone quickly." The dispatcher assured me police were on their way. I stayed on the line. I switched to the camera app on my phone, watching my parents move through my house. My mother was walking around like she owned the place, picking up things, examining them. My father was opening drawers, looking for something, maybe looking for valuables, maybe just being nosy. It did not matter. They had broken in. 7 minutes later, I watched 2 police cars pull up. 4 officers. They entered through the broken window, weapons drawn. My parents were in the living room. I could not hear what was being said, but I could see my mother's face go from confusion to outrage to fear very quickly. My father tried to argue. I could see him gesturing, pointing at things. The officers were not interested. One of them was on his radio. Another was taking photos of the broken window. Then I watched both of my parents get handcuffed. My mother was crying. My father was red-faced, shouting something. They were walked out of my house and put into separate police cars. The whole thing took less than 30 minutes from the moment they broke the window to the moment the police cars drove away with them in the back seats. My phone rang. A local number. I answered. "Is this Isabella Martinez?" "This is Officer Brennan with the County Sheriff's Department. We have just arrested 2 individuals at your property. Can you come down to give a statement?" I told them I would be there in an hour. I went back to my meeting. I apologized for the interruption. I finished out the workday. Then I drove to the station. Officer Brennan was professional and thorough. He showed me the video evidence they had collected. The broken window. My parents inside my home. "Do you know these individuals?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "They are my biological parents." "And did you give them permission to be on your property?" "No." "Did you give them permission to enter your home?" "No." "Do they have any legal claim to the property?" "None whatsoever. I own it outright. I have the deed and title in my name only." He nodded, taking notes. "They claim you invited them. They claim there has been a misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding," I said. I pulled out my phone. I showed him the texts I had saved, the blocked numbers, the history of them being asked to leave me alone. "I have made it very clear I do not want contact with them. This is harassment. This is breaking and entering." The officer looked at the evidence, looked at me. "Are you willing to press charges?" I did not hesitate. "Yes." My parents spent the night in jail. They called me 14 times from the jail phone. I did not answer. They had to get a bail bondsman. I found out later that Vanessa had to put up her new house as collateral because my parents had no assets. The irony was delicious. But it did not end there. Vanessa went nuclear. She posted on social media, on her Instagram with 30,000 followers. She went live crying, talking about how her cruel older sister had their poor elderly parents arrested. How I was rich and heartless. How I had abandoned my family. The video went viral in our community. Suddenly, I was getting messages from people I had not talked to in years. Former classmates, old co-workers, people I barely knew. All of them telling me I was terrible, asking how I could do this to my parents. I did not respond to any of them. Not publicly. Not privately. I went to work. I came home. I ignored the noise, but Ethan was worried. "This could affect your reputation," he said. "Maybe you should set the record straight." He was right. So I made one post. Just one. I posted 5 years of bank statements. Every single $3,500 payment highlighted. $210,000 over 60 months. I posted the promissory note my parents had signed. I posted screenshots of my credit card statements showing the supplementary card charges. Hundreds of dollars a month on things that were not emergencies. I posted the deed to my vacation house showing I was the sole owner. And I posted the security camera footage of my father throwing a rock through my window. No commentary, no long explanation. Just the receipts. Just the evidence. Just the truth. The tide turned fast. The same people who had called me heartless started apologizing. Vanessa's comments section turned against her. People started asking why she was defending their behavior, why she thought any of this was okay. She deleted the post. Then she deleted her Instagram. Then she disappeared from social media entirely. But the real blow was still coming. 2 months after the break-in, I got a call from Vanessa. She was crying. Real crying this time, not performative crying. "Isabella, please, you have to help." "I do not have to do anything," I said. "The bank," she sobbed. "They are foreclosing on the house. They said there are missed payments. Mom and Dad said the house was paid off. They said." "They lied," I said simply. "The house was not paid off. It still had a mortgage I was paying. When I stopped paying, the bank started foreclosure proceedings." "But they gave it to me," she wailed. "It is my house now." "Then it is your problem," I said. "Good luck." I hung up. I learned later what had really happened. My parents had not just been making minimum mortgage payments with my money. At some point, they had taken out a home equity line of credit, a HELOC. They had borrowed against the value of the house, probably to fund their lifestyle, their vacations, their spending. The house had still owed $150,000 when they signed it over to Vanessa. She had no idea. She thought she was getting a paid-off house worth $500,000. Instead, she got a house with massive debt attached. When I stopped making the mortgage payments, the bank noticed. They sent letters. My parents ignored them, probably hoping I would change my mind. When I did not, the foreclosure process started. Vanessa, as the new owner on paper, was now responsible. She and Kyle could not afford the payments. They barely made enough to cover their own apartment rent. The house was going to auction. 3 months after the wedding, I got invited to a housewarming party, Vanessa's housewarming party, at the house that used to be our family home, the house I had paid for. I almost did not go. But something made me RSVP, yes. Curiosity, maybe. Or maybe I just wanted to see it with my own eyes. I brought Ethan. We arrived exactly on time. The house looked good. Vanessa had redecorated, of course. New furniture, new paint colors, trying to make it her own. There were about 40 people there. Kyle's family, Vanessa's friends, some neighbors. My parents were there too, playing host like they still owned the place. When I walked in, the room got quiet. People stared. My mother's face went pale. Vanessa recovered first, forcing a smile. "Isabella, you came." "Would not miss it," I said pleasantly. I handed her a card. Inside was a gift card to a home improvement store. For $20, the same amount she had given me for my 30th birthday. We made small talk. It was excruciating. People were clearly uncomfortable. They had seen the social media drama. They knew about the arrest. But here I was at the party, pretending everything was fine, because that is what you do at a housewarming. You pretend. We had been there for maybe 30 minutes when there was a knock at the door. A loud official knock. Kyle answered it. 2 men in suits stood there. Behind them, a police officer. "Are you the homeowner?" one of the suits asked. Kyle nodded. "Yes, my wife and I, I am with the bank," the man interrupted. He held up a folder. "I have a court order for foreclosure. This property is being seized due to non-payment of mortgage. You have 30 days to vacate." The party stopped, like someone had hit pause on reality. Everyone froze. The man walked past Kyle past the stunned guests and taped a bright orange notice to the inside of the front door. Notice of foreclosure, property of bank name, unlawful to remain after date. Vanessa made a sound like a wounded animal. No, this is not, we were told, Mom and Dad said. She whirled around to face our parents. Our mother was backing toward the door. Our father looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. You said the house was paid off, Vanessa screamed. You said it was ours. It is a misunderstanding, Mom tried. We can fix this, we just need to talk to the bank. The bank has been trying to reach you for 4 months, the foreclosure agent said, consulting his paperwork. Multiple certified letters, multiple phone calls. You have defaulted on $157,000 in debt secured by this property. Guests started leaving, quietly, awkwardly. Nobody wanted to be there for this. I stayed. I stood by the staircase watching it all unfold, watching my family realize what they had done, what they had lost. Vanessa was screaming at our parents. Our father was trying to yell over her. Our mother was crying. Kyle looked like he was in shock. It was chaos. It was ugly. It was karma. Finally, Vanessa's eyes found mine across the room. She pushed through the remaining people and got in my face. This is your fault, she hissed. You could have kept paying. You could have saved us. Saved you, I repeated, like I saved you for 5 years. You are rich. You did not need that money. That is not how money works, Vanessa. That is not how any of this works. You are 30 years old. You have a college dropout record and a part-time job and a husband whose trust fund is running out. You do not need a house. You need to grow up. She slapped me, hard, across the face. The sound echoed in the now quiet room. Everyone who was left saw it. I did not react. I just looked at her. You are going to regret that, I said quietly. I pulled out a manila envelope from my bag. I had brought it just in case. Inside were legal documents, a lawsuit for defamation, for the Instagram live where she had called me heartless and cruel and accused me of elder abuse. I had witnesses. I had screenshots. I had evidence that every claim she made was false. You will be served formally next week, I said. But I thought I would give you a preview at your housewarming since you gave me such a memorable wedding gift. I turned to my parents. They looked small suddenly, older, scared. My mother was clutching my father's arm. Isabella, please, she started. We made mistakes. We can talk about this. Family should not treat each other like ATMs, I interrupted. Family should not lie. Family should not give away houses they do not own. Family should not break into each other's property. But here we are. My father found his voice, the angry voice, the voice that used to terrify me. You ungrateful, selfish. Stop, I said. I did not yell. I did not have to. I am not ungrateful. I am not selfish. I am done. There is a difference. You can be angry. You can hate me. You can tell everyone I am the villain. But you cannot use me anymore. That part is over. I walked toward the door. Ethan followed. As I passed the foreclosure notice, I stopped. I turned back one more time. Oh, and Vanessa, the property taxes you asked about. They are actually about $8,000 a year on this place. They are due quarterly, just in case you were wondering why your bank account is about to get another surprise. I walked out of that house for the last time. I got in the car with Ethan. We drove away. Behind us, I could hear Vanessa's voice, shrill and angry, still blaming everyone but herself. My phone started buzzing immediately. Calls, texts. I powered it off. 6 months later, the house sold at auction. Vanessa and Kyle moved into a cramped apartment, their marriage crumbling under money problems. Kyle's family cut him off. My parents tried living with Vanessa, but she kicked them out after 2 weeks. Now they are in a studio, both working minimum wage jobs in their 60s. The same situation they were in 5 years ago, except now they do not have me to bail them out. As for me, I got another promotion, bought a second investment property, and married Ethan last month. Small ceremony, just us and close friends. No family drama. I am sitting on my vacation house deck right now. My phone just rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. My mother's voice. Isabella, please. We need help. You are family. You cannot abandon us forever. I stared at the message, thought about responding, about explaining one more time that they abandoned me first every time they chose. Vanessa took my money and made me feel my worth was only in what I could provide. Instead, I opened my phone settings and changed my number. 3 clicks. Done. Ethan came out with wine. Who called? He asked. Nobody important, I said. We clinked glasses and watched the sunset. We talked about our future, about the life we were building together. A life that had nothing to do with people who only saw me as a bank account with a pulse. People say blood is thicker than water. They say family is everything. But here is what I learned. Sometimes the family you are born into is not the family you need. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away. What I had was not family. It was a transaction. And when I stopped paying, the transaction ended. I did not lose anything when I cut them off. I gained my peace, my sanity, my self-respect, my future. I stopped being someone's piggy bank and started being my own person. That is not revenge. That is survival. So here is my question for you. Have you ever been the giver in a relationship that only took? Have you ever had to choose between being used and being alone? Drop your story in the comments. Hit that like button. If you believe boundaries are not mean, they are necessary. Subscribe if you want more stories about people who chose themselves, because the only person who will always be there for you is you. Everyone else is optional. My phone with its new number sits silent on the table. No one from my old life can reach me now. That feels like freedom. That feels like peace. That feels like winning. Not because they lost, but because I finally won.